Hi everybody, it's Richard here again and welcome to another video. Now this is a follow up to a video I did 2 weeks ago where I showed 10 album titles and I have them in different covers, and I found another 10 titles with different covers, so this is like a part 2. So starting off, and it was actually James Griffiths that reminded me of this one, and this is ELO on the Third Day. Now this is the original UK release, and it is actually in a die-cut trifold sleeve, which is really nice. I really like that picture there of the rest of the band. But this was also released in America, and it was released in this cover here, which I also like. Now this is the first one I got. This is not an American copy, though it is a British copy, because it doesn't have Showdown on it, because it got a reissue in 1978 whenever ELO really were huge in the UK, and I don't know if this recharted again, but it's a very plain back sleeve, but it's a really cool cover. It's known as the belly button cover, where they're all sort of showing their belly buttons. But yeah, On the Third Day is the first choice. Okay, and my second choice is an album from 1990, and it's Nick Lowe's Party of One. Not my favourite Nick Lowe album, it's probably my least favourite. Maybe it's a little bit overproduced by Dave Edmunds, but it's an okay cover, although I always thought that one side of it was actually quite cheap looking with the purple and the big yellow writing of One, and the back of it's okay as well. But this was reissued on CD, I think in the early 2000s, with this cover here. Now I actually prefer that, and I really do like the back cover. There are a couple of extra tracks on it as well. You Stab Me in the Front and Rocket Coast. But it's not a bad album, but it's not its best, and this I think is my favourite version of the cover. Now the next one is actually the second issue I'm going to show, because it is the UK issue, and of course I have to get ABBA in here, and this is ABBA's Greatest Hits, and this folds out really nicely. That's known as the Park Bench. Now this album was huge, I really love that in there as well. It was #1 for ages in the UK, but it was released a few months earlier in 1975, late 75 in Sweden, without Fernando on it, and this is the version you got here, which is known as the cartoon cover, which I actually do quite like, although part of it freaks me out, and it is Agnetta's legs with all the little shins coming out from below the knee, and it does actually freak me out. But where they got the UK cover or the international cover was from the inner, so it's a slightly different shot, but yeah, that's where I prefer actually the UK version. So ABBA's Greatest Hits without Fernando, but this was the first one to be released. In 1982 UB40 released their third album, and it's UB44, and it's got that hologram on it, which I will not be able to get going, but trust me, it does work. And it's just a plain black cover, and plain black covers like this are prone to damage. You can see little chips here and there. Let's see if that works. No, not really. But it was reissued the next year, and I only have it on CD with this cover. And yeah, I do prefer the hologram one, because I think this is actually quite cheap looking as well. But it's a good album, third album. The first 3 UB40 albums are actually really good. Next one is Mott the Hoople and Mott, and this is the British cover in a die cut sleeve, and it opens up with nice pictures of the band, and then the picture of the band there. But the American version, which I only have on CD, is completely different, and it's that there, and there's a big sticker there, so I'll take this out if I can get this out without ripping it. I always find it really hard to get these things out. But yeah, it's not a bad cover either, although I don't know which I prefer actually. I think I actually do prefer this one, because the pink is a bit bright, so it is on the British one. So that's Mott the Hoople. Next up is Elton John and Peachtree Road. Now this is the original issue of Peachtree Road, which is a bit of a bland cover and a very, very bland back. But it's representative of the music. It's a very Americana type album, and that's just a railway stop somewhere in the middle of America. But it was reissued as well with extra tracks, and I've got the vinyl version, and it is like that there. And this is actually a painting, which I think is very, very good. But I think I prefer the original because I think it's more representative, but still it's a very good album. It's probably my favourite of his of the 21st century, so Elton John and Peachtree Road. Next up, and Morrissey. Now Morrissey has a habit of changing his covers all the time. Most of his catalogue has been reissued with different covers, but I'll go with the very first one, and it's Viva Hate, and I do like that cover, and I do like the back. It's very plain, it's very cloudy, but I do like it. But it was reissued, and the first time it was reissued was with this cover. It's been reissued again with another different cover, but this was the first one that came out in the 90s and the late 90s, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bonus tracks on it, and I do prefer the original cover, but still this is the better album because it does have all the bonus tracks on it. Next up is The Move, and I have to show this. Now this is actually part of a twofer with Shazam, and this is Moving On, and this is one of the worst covers you'll ever see in your life. Just a load of bald heads, and I don't get it at all, and I don't like it. And the first time I ever heard this album, I bought the CD, and it was a 1990s German issue, and that was the version that I had, which I actually do prefer. I think it's really cool with 4 members, and the back of it is actually quite cool as well. And again, there's plenty of bonus tracks on here, 5 different bonus tracks. A very, very heavy album. The Move's heaviest, but still it's a decent album, and yeah, this is the version I do prefer. 2 more to go, and Tom Petty and Hard Promises. And this is the version I've always been used to, and this is the UK version of Hard Promises. Very simple, and I think it's very, very effective, and it's a really, really good album. And I remember picking this up actually at the Lammas Fair, which is a fair held every year in Ballycastle, and there's a little second-hand record stall there, and I remember picking this up along with Lindsey Buckingham's Go and Seeing. So I do like that cover, but the universal cover really is the American cover, and everyone knows it, is this one here where he is in a record shop. Now I do prefer the back cover of this one, but I just don't like that front cover at all, I never have. So overall I prefer the white UK one. And lastly, I mentioned David Bowie, the man who sold the world, in the last video, so I'm going to show the 4. Now these aren't all originals, of course, in fact none of them are. So the first one up is the UK dress cover. Now this is a Parlophone reissue, and I don't mind this cover, but I don't think it's representative of the music, but however it is representative of how he looked at that time, so that's why this one gets a tick, and I really like it. However, the American cartoon cover is this, and I think this is shockingly bad. Now this is what I call a Long John Silver, which is readily available anywhere because this only cost me about £4 out of the record shop, but I just don't like the cover. And the third one is I think the German cover, and I only have it in picture disc, and I don't mind this one. This is the Flick cover, and again his hair is really long, and that is representative of 1970 whenever it was recorded. And the last one is my favourite, even though it's from 72, and is the Kick cover. And I think this is the most representative of that album. It's a very dark album, and I love the back of it as well. So this is the one I got way back in 1981, and it's still my favourite, even though I could never understand why his hair was short in this. I didn't know that this had been a reissue from 1972, and wasn't aware there was such a one as the dress cover, and whenever I saw pictures of it I couldn't believe it. But I still do prefer this, but yeah, very, very good album. Okay, so those are 10 more albums where I have different covers for the album, I hope you enjoyed that. I may have another 10, I'm not too sure, about 4 more, but we shall see. Anyway, that's me for now. All the best now. Bye bye.